I haven't been typically doing these for the Brunswick balls since we can start dropping reviews on announcement day, but as there are typically several videos for several releases, which take several days to get out there, I thought I'd give you a regular preview and rundown of all of them with a couple teaser shots to start with. Please let me know if this is something you enjoy and you'd like me to keep doing. Make sure to also drop down in the comments and let me know which ones you're excited for or looking forward to. There are 6 releases for the month of November. I'll have reviews for all of them, and release date is the 21st. Starting with Columbia, another throwback release that's sure to perk some ears up, the Ricochet Pearl. The original Ricochet is over 20 years old. It was part of Columbia's Reaction line at the time and was designed to be a back-end monster. Now, like the other classic or throwback balls they've made new versions of, it's not identical of course, but it's extremely similar and modernized. Now, the optics are extremely similar to the original. It's like a brighter Vaporize with gold sparkles. 15-pound RG is basically 249, a differential of 054. It's symmetric, so no int diff, and the cover is HK22C Microflex. Now, like we've talked about recently in some reviews, the C is significant because it designates the cohesion additive from balls like the Hammer Effect, Vaporize, One Reverb, so on and so forth, which really amps the HK22 base up and creates a very strong and dynamic reaction. They also mention the ultra shiny cover finish, 500 grit followed by compound, and then polished on top of that. Usually it's just sanding and compound for a smoother finish that's on the shiny side but not exactly glossy. But this one is glossy out of the box at least, and the way the ball feels is even kind of throwback. It's shiny, but there's a little bit of extra texture there too, kind of like the old mica balls. Now obviously this ball isn't shiny. Angel got this one, which means you'll have to check out Brunswick or the Hype or Luis, etc. if you want to see it at the ultra shiny box finish. But if you're one that shies away from shiny balls because they're too weak, clean, or flippy, a little surface will keep you from missing out on stuff like this because obviously this one really impressed us. Next we have the DV8 Heckler, a strong cover, mild asim that follows with the core design idea from the Troublemaker series of offering more flexible layout options for no-thumb bowlers, while still being a perfectly fine option for bowlers that do use their thumb. So naturally our two-hander Jessy got this one, 250 RG, 049 differential, and an 010 int diff, kind of beyond infinity or Rubicon-esque numbers for reference, and you'll notice the cutouts in the top of the mushroom there, so to speak. That's typically where finger holes go for a lot of no-thumb bowlers. 4-inch pin to cog or center of grip is fairly common, so you're not going to be hitting the core or much of it on most standard layouts, which will keep you closer to the undrilled numbers. However, if you do use different layouts, then you will get into the core and alter the core shape and numbers in the way you're intending based on your layout selection. Now, for most typical thumb-in layouts, you will be hitting the core on pin-up layouts like you normally do, and pin down you might get less into the core if your thumb lands in the cutouts, but thumb holes go deeper than finger holes do, especially with the interchangeable thumb system, so you will still catch a good portion of it, which will give you the intended results as well. HK22C Maximum Havoc cover that comes at 2000 grit, which is where we left it. Once again, we have the cohesion additive, so very strong and dynamic cover, making this one a strong ball for heavy conditions that backs off the asymmetry a bit to give bigger rev rates, strength, but controllable strength. Ebonite's Real Time is a follow-up to the Big Time Special Edition. It uses the same core at a 251 RG and an 054 differential and 15 pounds, and it's a little interesting because the Big Time SE was a pearl that came sanded. Now the Real Time is a solid that comes shiny. Same cover as the Big Time SE with the HK22 GB 13.7 combo, so you should know what you're in for with this one. It's going to be your strong symmetric core, medium to strong strength cover, benchmark, league killing, stable in transition ball. Now on paper the cover is stronger than the GB5 cover. I think the finish is going to put it under the GB5, but with them at the same surface they should be in fairly similar territory. This one is just going to be the longer and sharper one because the GB5 does not have the HK22 base, it's just GB 12.7. HK is going to make this one a little cleaner and more dynamic, but the stronger 13.7 cover will still offer some strength and control, as you can see. Not much else to say about this one, pretty simple and straightforward, also just pretty, period. Jessy has really liked his Ethos Hybrid so far, and this one is a little cleaner and smoother, so he was looking forward to something he could drop into if the Ethos was a little strong. And while on paper they're kind of on top of each other outside of the box finishes, on the lane it does seem to be that little half step down. Hammer's Anger is a different look than we've seen from the B7 brands in a while. It's got a higher RG at 257, but also a higher differential at 050 and 15 pounds, so high roadish territory, but with a slightly higher differential. Now typically their higher RG stuff like the Rhino Pros and Tundras have also had lower differentials meant more for length and control. The Anger, however, is built for length and boom. The cover is the shiny HK22 with CT reactive flip additives, so the intent for this ball is to be angry. It's going to get down the lane and then it's going to turn sideways. Now that used to be a big selling point. People always like to see the big move on the back end, but eventually realized that's not always great for ball reaction, so you started seeing a lot more controllable options, even if still Pearl and shiny and designed to be angular. However, we then kind of started missing those long and flippy options that you still need on drier conditions, where you have to get deep and play a lot of angle. So you'd either get long or you'd get sharp, but very few options did both, so you'd find yourself in a spot where you could either get the ball down the lane, but couldn't get it back up to the pocket, or you'd have something that would really move, but wouldn't get down the lane. Now once again, Angel and Shine don't go together, especially on our testing pattern, so you'll have to find another video to see it out of the box. But again, just because it comes polished doesn't mean you have to leave it there, or just avoid the ball, and that's what I hope we continue to help illustrate. Angel has always loved the high road line, plus she got the Ivory Rhino Pro, which again was one of those high RG, but also medium to low diff balls, so we can illustrate the difference. Now we're getting into the heavy hitters, or the ones that are going to drive some real interest. At first, the Hammer Effect Tour. What they did here was remove the disc or puck from the bottom of the weight block to create a lower diff and int diff to get the core to NV Tour-ish territory. 247 RG, 036 differential, and an 012 int diff and 15 pounds. For comparison, the NV Tour is 247, 034, 013, so very close. Core shapes are different though, but I am going to compare these two in the review, so we'll get to take a look. I'm not feeling a ton of difference in the shape. No HK for this one as far as the cover goes. It makes sense if you're going for a strong, stable, and controllable ball reaction. HK is cleaner and more dynamic, so this is the Tour V3 Solid, which Hammer has at 10.25 for strength on their ratings. The NV Solid cover is 10.5, so the Effect Tour is only marginally weaker. Now by contrast, the Obsession Tour's Tour V2 was at an even 10. And the NV Tour has the Obsession Tour core in it. I hope you're all keeping this straight. So on paper, the Effect Tour should be about right between the Obsession and the NV. I don't know if it's meant to replace the NV Tour. I wouldn't think so. It seems a little closer to the Obsession Tour to me, but the NV has been around for a while. The Effect Tour does feel cleaner and a little weaker than the NV Tour, definitely. Once again, I will feature the NV Tour as a comparison in the review so we can take a look. Now, as far as being a complement to the original effect, I don't think so. This one's a completely different animal. The Pure Envy or Extreme Envy would be a much closer fit with the original effect. Finally, the one that I'm the most excited about, the Theorem Pearl, and there's not a lot to say on this one because they kept it simple and said as much. When you have a ball that's as successful, versatile, popular, and effective as the Theorem, you just don't screw with it, you let it be. It's straight up a Pearl Theorem. Same cover, same core, just Pearl instead of hybrid, and while the stock photo is pretty nice looking, the actual pores are even prettier, at least mine is. 247 RG, 046 differential, 017 int diff, so not a big ASIM, but close enough. Prime response Pearl with HK, so again, just a Pearl version, but for those looking closely, I'm not really getting OG Theorem vibes here. This is much more in the territory of intense mindset for me. The Theorem is the clean and fast, rounder, continuous shape. The Theorem Pearl is more of a hook set, hockey stick shaping directional ball. Now, if you told me this was a Pearl Criterion, I'd have believed it and never known the difference because it feels more like that than it does like the Theorem, so that's either a good thing or a bad thing. I think this one is even a little earlier and slower than the Theorem too, so if you have a Theorem and are worrying about overlap, I at least am not seeing it, but if you were hoping for a cleaner, sharper, and slightly weaker Theorem, this isn't it. That will wrap it up for the preview. The review videos will roll out over the next week and a half. Got a lot of stuff to get to, and please check the description for all the links and discounts and all the good stuff down there. Thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you.